Hello, I'm Dominic Walker, JMW's Inside Man. Stephen Taylor Heath is Head of Sports Law at JMW Solicitors and is on the Inside Man. Hello, Stephen.
Morning, Dom.
Stephen, so we've heard about the new owners of Newcastle United, and during the takeover process, there was this talk of the owners and directors test. But many people will have heard of it, but not actually know what the test is. So can you give us an idea of what the owners and directors test is, please?
Yeah, the owners and directors test has been in place since about 2004, and it was brought in with regard to some criteria with regard to suitability to be a director of a football club, and in relation to ownership of a football club, that there's future financial planning in place with regard to the financial performance of the club. And that's contained in Section F of the Premier League's handbook, and the Football League have similar rules. And the criteria doesn't just apply if you're taking over a club, it also applies to the ongoing situation with regard to existing clubs, but normally in the news when it relates to a takeover of a club. The criteria itself relates to the type of thing that you'd expect to see in relation to suitability to be a director of any company. But in relation to football, there's some football-specific regulations relating to ownership of you're not allowed to have control of another football club for sporting reasons. And one slightly unusual one is that if you've been involved in a club that's actually taken part in an unauthorized competition, and we're thinking there about the European Super League, for example, without the permission of the Premier League board, then that could be criteria for not being a suitable person to be a director of a football club.
And so how is this relevant to Newcastle United, Stephen?
Well, as I say, the criteria with regard to taking ownership of a club is that you have to show who are going to be in control of the club, including the administration, which is the directors, and also where the funds are coming from. If they have to satisfy that those funds are funds that could be used legally in this country, thinking there about money laundering and things like that. And if you go up to the Premier League and say, this is our consortium, and you present, say, four morally upstanding people who have been directors of businesses and what have you, then the Premier League and the Football League are entitled to look beyond that and say who are actually going to be in control of the club, where is the money coming from? And they will devote quite a lot of resources to finding out who actually is going to be in control of the club. In relation to Newcastle United, I understand that the documents were submitted with regard to who were intended to be in control of the club, but questions were asked as to the role in relation to the Saudi Arabian state, on the basis that the PIF, which is one party of the consortium, have officers who are also part of the Saudi Arabian royalty.
And Stephen, I know that the JMW sports law team have a significant amount of experience at acquiring sports clubs, selling sports clubs as well. Is it important to get a lawyer involved?
Yes, it is. Obviously, in relation to the Newcastle takeover, lawyers were involved at that time, because, as I say, applications were made with regard to who the consortium said would be running the club. The Premier League questioned that, and this was a long, drawn-out process on the basis that the Premier League, under their rules, are entitled to ask for the person who is, in fact, to be in de facto control of the club to appear before them. The bid was withdrawn at one point because the process was going on and the Premier League were not satisfied. The bid has obviously been resurrected. There was a satellite commercial issue in relation to the fact that one of the Premier League's broadcasting partners was not allowed to broadcast in Saudi Arabia, yet we understand that there was a pirate broadcaster taking that feed, broadcasting in Saudi Arabia. So there was this satellite issue that was going on at the time, and that's why lawyers were involved in order to get that takeover through. So when you are making an application like this, it could in theory be straightforward, but obviously the Premier League may ask further questions, and the forms themselves have to be submitted by the proper people in the proper order. If you're under a tight timescale with regard to getting this through, then obviously you want to make sure it's not a long drawn out process, and we can help in relation to making sure that the forms are submitted on time with the correct information and that any further queries are answered. Also, if in fact you get a knockback and the Premier League say, we don't accept the information that's been provided, then you can appeal with regard to any decisions taken, and obviously we can help in relation to those appeals as well. My colleague Mike Blood has overseen several prominent football club takeovers, and I assist him in relation to aspects such as the owner and directors tests.
Stephen, thank you very much for your insight. And if you'd like to speak to Stephen or Mike with regards to acquiring or disposing of a club, then you can contact us insideman@jmw.co.uk or call 0161 82 81 999.
I'm Dominic Walker, JMW's Inside Man.